I think you would connect so well with the audience like that.
Tell the ring announcer exit stage left.
Think about seriously. Seriously, We're not playing. You should really, if you love show tunes and you love wrestling, why don't you put it together? And that way, showcase your wrestling, showcase your show tunes, and it's not a gimmick.
Yeah, you jerk. So now you're talking shit about two people.
Folks, welcome live in the studio, Andrew K. along with our sound technician, Denise. And joining us here tonight is none other than Thunder, Joe Scott. Thank you, Joe, for joining us. Really do appreciate your time here tonight.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. O'Neal, you're a big fan of Joe Scott. I'm a big fan of Joe Scott.
I'm a big fan of Joe Scott.
We were just talking about it off camera. I mean, you just had a great match with S1E6 recently. O'Neal, what did you think, O'Neal, that match?
I think it was a great match. It was TV, so you could check that out. What are your thoughts on it? How did you feel being in a light heavyweight title match for TV?
I've been in many light title matches before, but it's weird to face S1E6, who's just recently on Lucha Underground, and he's also a babyface. So it's hard to tell that kind of story in that kind of match. So it was a little difficult, but it was a competitive match, and I came on the short end of the stick. But I feel like I gave it my all.
Absolutely. And you wrestle also for D2W as well.
Yes.
And you wrestle as a heel.
Yes, which many people don't get to see.
Well, now, why haven't a lot of people gotten to see that?
Because I'm too nice of a guy.
We see that, but do you enjoy working as a heel?
It's funny because I just recently did like a whole 4-day loop as a heel. So it's like, and the last match I just had this past weekend, I just did as a heel. And I was like, oh, I'm starting to kind of enjoy it and embrace it a little bit more because I feel like my beats are a little bit better as a heel than a face. So I was like, maybe I have something going on with this heel thing, but we'll see. So.
Now, how were you in your adolescence? Were you a heel or a baby face?
What was that?
In your adolescence, in your early age?
Oh, super baby.
Super baby, huh?
Super baby.
When did you develop a love for professional wrestling, and how did that transcend into becoming a professional wrestler?
I think it goes back to adolescence. Pretty much grew up watching wrestling with my dad from the wee ages of a baby, and I always say about like 7 or 11, I developed a love for it, and I wanted, around the age of 11, kind of sparked the idea that I wanted to become a wrestler. You know, you have that plush figures, Ultimate Warriors, the Hulk Hogan. So I was playing around with them, doing wrestling maneuvers, always had the action figures, always doing something with wrestling. So it just took me a while to just actually find some place and go there and actually start training. I didn't start training until I was like 24, 25. So it was kind of late in the game, but still I feel more comfortable because I just finished college. I was on the tail end of college. And so I got that all out all the way. So I got my bachelor's and everything. So I was ready to start this new career and give whatever efforts I had in into wrestling.
Now, for people outside of ECPW, D2W, and a lot of the independents that you worked throughout the Northeast, tell the audience who Joe Scott is. A lot of people that are outside of the scope of the tri-state area may not know who you are. Like, explain who Joe Scott is.
Oh, that's a tough one. Joe Scott, he's just your normal guy, but he's a hard fighter. He brings it hard in the ring, and oh man, that's a hard one. Yeah.
I mean, speaking of rings, I mean, you're very humble. You actually help put the rings together. We've seen you at the TV tapings at ECPW. I mean, you're like the first one in the building, and like the last guy, you and Timothy Plasma,
yeah.
Orlock. I mean, when did that? I mean, it's not something that you're being told, but obviously you could tell that you love the business because of how much effort you put in inside the ring and outside the ring and afterwards. And that's probably one of the things. Like you were at the top of our list of guys like we wanted to interview.
Yeah.
So I mean, what are your thoughts or something you could share about that?
You know, it's weird. I've like been at it for about 10 years plus now, and I'm still doing ring crew. It's kind of like working backwards. I didn't really do ring crew as I was working up, but it was always instilled in me that you got to help out. All these new people, they come, they do the ring crew for a little bit, then they kind of like fade away. But you're always paying your dues no matter what. So I feel like.
Who are some of these people? Let's start burying people. We don't want to do
Let's
that.
list them off.
We're gonna start burying people on this show now. But in all seriousness, though, Gino, obviously you have a lot of respect for him. How long have you been training with Gino Cruz?
For about 2 years now, 2 years plus, going on 3. Yeah.
Okay. And what are some of the things that you like, disliked, you learned from Gino, or something that he's critiqued you on about getting?
A lot of it's the little things sometimes that he points out, like working the crowd, trying to just like find that momentum. Like I can't think of it at the current moment, but there was just something really minute that I didn't really notice in myself, and I was training one time at the gym at like Hiawatha, and he pointed it out, and I was like, oh, that's a good point. So even though I've like, he didn't really do much, like, you know, he got a little bit of exposure in WWE. He still has a mind. I mean, he's been 35 years or 40 years in the business, so he's definitely a good mind to pick, and I don't think enough people pick his brain.
Yeah. What else do you pick? Like you just mentioned, picking Gino's brain. Is he a large influence on your wrestling career, would you say?
Not really, because I've aspired from other wrestlers like Chris Jericho and like Chris Benoit and stuff like that. I'm more of a technical wrestler, and I wasn't grown up, and I didn't know like Gino Caruso until I was exposed to ECPW. So I can't really say he was one of my influences. I mean, I did get the
That's part of the training.
Yeah, but
right?
definitely. Yeah.
Okay. O'Neal, you had some thoughts you wanted to bring up.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk a little bit about your tag team time in the business. So you tag with Kyle Angus on occasions when he's not injured, which is often to see.
Yes.
Kyle,
get better.
So you guys are the Great Scots. Was there ever a moment in your guys' career where you were like, all right, this is our moment, we're gonna get the titles this month or something, and then?
Think about the time when Kyle got back from his injury, we thought we were going to be next in line instead of the top-notch males, and we thought it should be us, and Kyle kept on ingraining to me that it should be us, because he's got that ego, he wants to be the best, and I don't blame him for that, and I'm more humbled about it, and I'm not greedy like that, but it's not greed, it's more of a hunger thing.
Yeah,
hunger. And we're good enough to carry those tag team titles, I feel, as the Great Scots, but we just haven't got that exposure because due to injury. So, and then when he came back from injury, he had like a singles run, kind of like forgot about the Great Scots for a little bit, then put us back together. So there was really no good time period that the Great Scots could show what they.
So he forgot about you. He basically threw you through the barbershop window. I'm gonna say it right now, Kyle. I love you, buddy, but don't forget about this man right here.
It wasn't. I don't think it was Kyle. It was just booking.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just having some fun.
Damn bookies.
But I mean, here's what some of the guys like Mike and I and O'Neal, we've talked about it. You're one of the kind of guys like on a card, like you could never really have a bad match. And I don't know what it is. You're very technical in the ring. You have the mechanics down, and a lot of people don't see your personality. You're not a guy that you don't really talk on the mic. You think that's maybe holding you back?
It might be holding me back actually, because there is some personality in this body, but I've always been drawn to the technical side, and that might be my downfall, because I'm not much of a well-spoken person, and I've always grown up not really speaking a lot. Growing up, I was in special education, and I graduated from that to regular education, and then from like junior high school on, I was just pretty much in regular education and pursued that. But I was never I never would raise my hand to read a chapter in class and stuff like that.
You're always shy.
Yeah, always shy, always an introvert.
What kind of you just mentioned? What kind of the crowd did you what kind of clique would you say? Did you have a lot of friends? Did you have a few select friends?
Definitely in different groups, I would have just a niche kind of friends, just a small group of people, because it's always weird. I always say when it becomes more than 3 people, I kind of get in my own little bubble, because I kind of outcast myself, and then they start talking, and I kind of just more listen than have input, unless I have input, like I have like something meaningful to say, you know?
Right.
I guess we're lucky it's just us three then.
Yeah, there we go. We got a good number.
And then we got Mike out there. Mike's
there. Mike's in his own bubble.
I mean,
So what do you crave more, singles competition or tag team? Like, what do you feel like you feel more natural?
It was weird because when I was breaking in Johnny Rod's with World of Unpredictable Wrestling, I was a part of a tag team called the Celtic Connection, where I originated the Scottish gimmick. So I was a long period of time, a good 6 years or so, that I was a part of the tag team, and I started getting the tag team craft down. And then when I went to Geno's, I was a singles wrestler, so I kind of like forgot all the stuff I did in tag team action and started honing my craft as a singles wrestler, then got thrown. Oh, hey, you're gonna be a tag team. I'm like, oh, what did I used to do over here? Kind of like pick stuff that I used to like, but I know I didn't have the same partner. So I was like, oh, I gotta work with what Kyle has and kind of pick the same formula that I used to do in my other tag team that I had before. So it's definitely unique to get thrown back into the fire of the tag team division. And I still feel like it's not there because Kyle's not here. So it's kind of like I'm still singles in my own mind. So it's a weird transition sometimes.
who are some of the guys you enjoy working with, or guys that you have a lot of chemistry with?
Definitely enjoy working with Kyle. I think he's a hard worker. I liked my match, worked very well with Brandon Alpha. Oddly enough, I have decent matches with Orlock. I like to say so.
Orlock, the artist formerly known as Timothy Plasma. Since you just brought him up, Tim, I gotta give props because he's the guy that, just like you, first one in the building, last one out. He's setting up the ring. He's been doing it a while. You've been doing it with him as well. Is there any stories you could share in the road with Tim? I mean, I'm sure you've been driving a lot of miles.
Yeah, it's kind of quiet.
It's quiet.
It's very quiet. I mean, I don't really speak a lot, and he doesn't really speak a lot. Like even less than I do. I try to spark
Well,
conversation.
can you grab his cell phone away from the guy? Like when he, I mean,
No, sometimes I worry him. Like he's driving and he's paying attention to his phone, looking at the thing, or texting a girl or something. I don't know what he's doing on his phone. I don't look like that.
He's a lady killer.
Oh yeah, definitely a lady killer. That should be his new gimmick. But anyway, yeah, sometimes I get worried. I'm like, Tim, the road. But I try not to say much because whatever. But no, he's a super awesome guy.
Yeah, he's great. I mean, it just seems like a lot of his more we're gonna have him on the show eventually, but but Tim has more of a, and I'm gonna say this because like you're obviously close with him in the sense that you guys travel, you guys take
Like kind of business partners or something.
Okay, so you guys travel. You guys consider him a friend?
I would consider him a friend. Why not? Yeah.
If he called you at 4 o'clock in the morning, drunk in a bar, would you go pick him up?
I would think about it.
So Orlock, you guys you consider him a friend. You just said,
Yeah.
So if 4 o'clock in the morning he calls you and he's drunk and he says, "Come pick me up," you
I'd think about it. Usually wake up at 5 o'clock, so might as well, right?
wake up at 5. What do you
Like
do?
5:45. I pick up a pet waste at northern New Jersey.
Pet waste.
Yeah.
A lot of people
that
wouldn't know
sounds
that.
interesting.
Yeah,
What
talk about
exactly
that.
is that?
So I go to people's houses and I go to your yards, either front yard or backyard, and I pick up their dog's waste from the yard, from the grass.
Are you going to like rich people's homes or?
Some are pretty rich.
Wait, this is like a contract? Like this is private, or this is like from the city,
No,
municipality?
this is
How
like his own franchise, so I'm one of the...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So they're actually contracting you guys to come out and do
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So
Oh,
we're like
okay.
So we're talking about
we're
people
more
who
of
are
a
just-
service than anything else.
So people who are just too lazy to clean up their own.
To clean up their
Pet
own dog
poop.
shit,
Yeah.
you're gonna call this man right
Thunder
here.
Joe Scott.
Thunder Joe Scott to the action.
Are you ever in the backyard scooping up some shit and you're like, man, I can't wait for this wrestling career to kick off?
Sometimes I'm like doing my rows like you're mowing the lawn, and I'm like, man, I could just tell a great story. Before I was wrestling, I was scooping shit.
Literally.
Literally.
A shitty job.
My degree for respect for you just went up tenfold, and I'm going to tell you why. A lot of people, a lot of people may not know that you do that for a living, but the fact is, you're you don't have a big enough head or an ego to say, I'm not going to do that job. A lot of people would say, you know, if they weren't working, a lot of people with no option would say, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah,
they would have an attitude like, I don't want to do it. But here you are, you're waking up at 5:45, so I commend you for that.
Thank you.
I mean, that's pretty impressive there. Back to Johnny Rods.
Let's go back to Johnny Rods. Let's go back to like your early training, and so you started off with him.
Yeah.
So let's go back and talk about like
How did you get
what were
started?
what were the first things like he taught you? If you remember.
Yeah, most of the first day kind of stuff was first day would be like the rolls, the tumbles and stuff like that, the bumps and stuff like that. And then
Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but how did the first bump feel? Ever?
I was pretty bad at it at first, but it took me a while to get my first bump down, but it hurt. Definitely did hurt. Didn't tickle. Right now, I don't even feel it anymore because I've been doing it so much. But first time sucked because it's right on your back with the spine, like right between your shoulder blades. I was like, ooh, I felt that the next day for sure. And getting those rope burns and bruises, not fun. I still get those, but they don't hurt as much as they did back then.
Now, before we keep going with your wrestling career, let's go back to the dog shit. What is a crazy story you could share with us? Is there any time that you were in fear for your life? Like, did an animal come out, almost kill you? Like, what?
I mean, there are some vicious animals, but usually they like warn us ahead of time when you either gotta like call ahead or knock on the door if you come into that problem, or sometimes I would just have to back up very slowly and be like, don't bite me, calm down, and just kind of go to the door. I never run in fear anymore. Like, can't run in fear because the dogs will come at you, but never really had a bad case so far, luckily.
Now, it's mostly just dogs, or what kind of animals?
Usually just dogs, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so-
Any exotic pets you come across? Like the weirdest
Any
waste you
Bengals?
ever had to?
I mean,
Kenny Bengals.
yes, I've came across Kenny Bengal in the ring, still. But I mean, seen foxes, deers, raccoons, squirrels. But you probably get a kick out of it since you're talking about exotic pets. I'm actually on my second hedgehog. Wow. So I have So
What's his name or her name?
Oh, this one's a him. Last one was a she. It's Sir Griffin Brambles, if you want to be the long style. He's a little classy.
Wow.
I've never had a friend or anyone who had like a pet like that. So, how do you take care of them?
They're pretty easy to take care of, actually. Like, you got them like pretty much like a hamster cage. The only difficult part right now, especially summer and winter, they got their ideal temperatures like 75, so it's hard to keep them kind of like that maintained. Especially in this heat, it's been like 80 to 90 degrees currently, and it's just so hard. You got to keep a fan on or AC on, and then in the wintertime, it's like 40, and if they get cold, they go hibernate, and if they hibernate, they could eventually die, So they're not like bears, they sleep and could come back to life, but they could go in like a coma, so to say, and kind of like pass away. They don't really even have a long lifespan too. They have like a 3-year lifespan. We found that out the hard way because the last hedgehog we had, she was kind of like on our way out, more or less, when we got her, because she's like my girlfriend's friends had her before we did, so they already had her 2 years or 2 odd years, and we pretty much was on the 3rd year. So it was kind of a unique experience. We learned from that one and then try to do what we can with this one because we got it at a young age. It was like more like before a year old. It was in like almost infancies, but they also like cats, they age a little bit quicker. So either it was like a toddler to maybe like under 10 years old, maybe in hedgehog life. But right now, I feel like sometimes he goes through his like teenage phase because he poops everywhere. So that's always fun to clean up after.
Oh, you're just cleaning shit all day.
Yo, cleaning shit all day.
What is a hidden talent a lot of people don't know about you?
Besides wrestling, I do some acting. I used to do some a lot of community theater over where I used to live in Rockaway Beach.
Were you in
Queens.
The Wrestler too?
I wasn't not in The Wrestler.
I was in The Wrestler as well too. Andrew
I
Anderson,
missed
my
that
buddy.
boat.
I mean, yeah.
I didn't see the casting call for that one. I missed it.
What are some of the projects that you have done?
I've done a lot of. This might be fun to know, but I've done a lot of musicals. So you probably won't see me much of a musical guy. So I've done a lot of like dancing and singing. I'm not a really good singer, but I blend in with people pretty well. So
Like show tunes? Or?
Yeah, show tunes.
It's a triple threat.
Give us a little something for our audience here live.
Oh man, now you gonna put me on the spot.
Come on, we're live.
Let's see. Since I was going to talk about like one of my favorite roles were at the Heights Players. I played Diesel in West Side Story.
Okay.
Ooh, I was in West Side Story.
Oh, who did you play?
I was just one of the Puerto Ricans.
Of course. The Sharks.
Yeah. I was
So
definitely a shark.
let's go. Let's see if I know the lyrics for tonight.
Something that comes to your
Yeah.
head. They could be, it's not American Idol. We're not expecting you to.
Well,
this
so
is
you
something.
were a jet, right?
Yeah.
So when you're a jet,
you're a jet
all
all the
around.
way.
From your first cigarette
To
to
your
your last dying
dying
day.
day. When you're a jet. Ah, damn it.
I don't remember all the words. Something about family
Yeah.
around.
You
guys were in
You're
sync
never
there.
alone. You're never disconnected. Bam, bam.
See, like
Home on
Riff
your own.
sang that part, so I'm like, and I had choreography to remember and like punches and kicks and
yeah.
stuff like that. And it was also like did some stage fighting on that show as well, so that was cool. I got a guy pretty good in the gut one time because I just got into it because we had this fight scene go like right cross, punch the gut, and a little
He's
bit.
gotten good. I used to get in the one Rumble scene. I used to always get flipped. Actually, literally,
Oh, yeah.
because I liked wrestling, I suggested the girl that plays, the tomboy, right?
Action?
Yeah.
No, not action.
Yeah, isn't it action?
No, action's the guy. I know what girl
Oh.
you're talking about.
Regardless.
Nobody's.
Yeah, no.
There we go.
Regardless, I convinced
I should know
the
that.
director and her to literally give me a hip toss. And so every night I would take a hip toss onto the floor
Oh man.
as part of the scene.
And that was wood too, right?
Yeah, it was wood.
Oh man.
Wood stage. But it was, it was for the show.
Yeah.
And I did it and it went over really well.
Nice.
People liked it.
Yeah, I'd had another little fight scene in Oklahoma. I was in Oklahoma at the Broadway Theater Company
good
and
one.
stuff like that. Yeah. But definitely my top role was Diesel in West Side Story. Just something about it. Just everything clicked in that show, and it's like I feel like that was like my best acting experience as an actor. I also did the New York Renaissance Fair in Tuxedo, New York. I was one of the villagers, so I kind of got interact with people, break that fourth wall. That fourth wall doesn't exist. You're in my world, so I get to interact with you and do that. And then
I can see the passion that you're talking about. And do you love acting live, like in front of a crowd, or more in the setting like director, acting, take?
I think I'm more of a stage person than like a video kind of person, because like it's so many takes sometimes. I've done a couple background works. It's like, oh, you're kind of doing the same scene over and over, but like when it's live, you have like one take.
You just keep going.
You just keep on going. You can't. There's no mess ups.
Is there some
If there's a mess up,
something that sticks out that you remember while you're on stage acting that you could share? Like something that was either funny or an accident that happened?
oh, I was actually thinking about the Oklahoma. I wasn't in this scene, but in Oklahoma, the scene between Judd and the lead guy, Curly, right? I think it's Curly. They were talking, and Judd had a gun, and it went off before it was supposed to, and he had it like directed his way. So they just busted out laughing. They totally broke character. It was so funny. I
The
kind of
gunshot went off before.
before it was supposed to. So the sound effect guy was off cue.
And how long were you a stage actor?
For a good portion, I was definitely balancing both. I was balancing acting and wrestling and working out. I was trying to be a jack of all trades. And
What do you love more, acting or wrestling?
Trying to be Hugh Jackman.
I had a passion for both, so I try to kind of pursue both. But like now that I'm more involved it wasn't until like 2 or 3 years, like I was like, oh, I'm gonna go invest more in wrestling because that's what I want. That's where my passion is. But like, I feel like I kind of wasted a lot of time trying to juggle all that. Try to juggle all what I juggled. I was a New Yorker. I got to do it all, you know. So I'm working overnights. I'm working I'm working during the day. I'm working overnights, trying to do wrestling, trying to do acting. I had many hats everywhere, like eggs in many different baskets, and sooner or later those eggs crack and they just start steaming all over the place.
So for your advice to a young guy trying to break into business, you're suggesting that you shouldn't be having too many.
Yeah, I would say focus on what's your passion. If your passion is wrestling, and you just go balls to the wall, man. Just go balls to the wall. If that's do your job, but if you want wrestling, do wrestling. If you want acting, do acting. If you want something else, whatever that passion is, just go for it.
And we certainly see the passion. It's obvious when you talk about professional wrestling and your actions in the professional wrestling ring. What are some of the things that you love most about being in the ring? Is it the crowd, telling the story, getting people on the edge of their seat?
Yeah.
What makes Joe Scott tick?
For me, it's the story and then getting that crowd reaction to go along with it. Cause like, I don't want to expose this too much, but like, you know, you kind of like, you're going over the match with your partner pretty much, and you kind of try to keep the crowd in mind. You have the crowd in your head, and you were like, oh, as a kind of, when you want to think as the wrestler and as the fan, what do I want to see as the fan, and how can I portray that as the wrestler? So for me, I try to do like a peak in my match. I kind of like do like a roller coaster, maybe like get like a little peak in the beginning and kind of go down and work my way back up, and then try to mess around with that. And so
you want to play with the fans' emotions.
Yeah, exactly. So I want them to invest into my story, which is why like you guys say, I have probably the most decent matches in ECBW, because I try to tell that story. I try to get the crowd in as I'm telling my story.
I think the only criticism, and it's not a knock on you, is the fact that you don't show that personality enough. And you've said it yourself, you don't show that personality much. I mean, if you, the matches itself, nobody can take that away, nobody can say anything, but is there something that, have you thought about doing something like with promos, like maybe, is there something that you've practiced but maybe you're not comfortable with? Like, what is it about the promos?
Yeah, it's just speaking in my own voice sometimes.
It feels weird?
Yeah, it feels weird, yeah. Definitely feels weird, because I'm like, I don't think I come across well. I think I get in my own mind, and like sometimes like it's weird that like as an actor I could find a character and I could become that character, but always, like my friends have said it before, it's hard for me to become that character as a wrestler, you know, kind of like there's a blurred line between my wrestling character and my own character, and try to meet him. Well, because like a lot of people are like, oh, you're that wrestler turned up to 11. I don't feel like I get ever to that 11, which is probably what disconnects me from the fans, you know, kind of.
Do you feel sometimes you have a disconnect with the fans?
Oh, definitely a lot. I mean, most of my feedback is like, oh, you're not paying enough attention to the audience, because those are the beats that you take in wrestling. I feel like it's easier as a bad guy to take those beats, because you want to be like, you're beating down that good guy, and you're like trying to get the crowd into it, and you pay more attention to them, because they're like, I hate you for beating that guy up. As a good guy, my theory as a good guy is like, I want the sympathy, so I'm selling, and I could tell a good selling story, but like before that, how do I draw the crowd in? How do I look at that kid in the front row or that old guy in the last row, like, and I'm more focused about like what's going on in the ring and what kind of story I want to tell, and I kind of forget about the fans. So like, fans kind of are like second nature in my
But it's not
story.
intentional, though.
But it's not intentional.
Right.
No way. Yeah.
Right.
Let's go back to a little bit more about the training. I remember I think we had an interview with you like a year or two ago, one of our first ECPW shows where you talked about chain wrestling.
Yeah.
Let's talk more about that. I know that you were like specifically saying, you know, this is where I learned my chain wrestling from. This is if you see it from, and that's from Johnny Rods too.
Yeah, that's from Johnny Rods. Every time, like, even when I was working up in Johnny Rods, we would always do chaining, and that was like kind of my niche. And then when I became like one of the leaders, because you know people filter out and somebody's got to step up, and that's where I kind of stepped up, and then I would just watch wrestling and kind of get the technique down, and then I would grab a guy and kind of like, I like to experiment in training, so I'll do the holds and maybe try something different. I always try something different and see which way I could get into it, which way I could get out of it and stuff like that. So that kind of became my niche, so to say, in training, definitely. And guys would come to me and be like, oh, hey, you're a good chainer, can we do that? And every time I go to somebody that's new, oh, hey, what do you want to work on? They always say chain, and then like, oh, okay.
So that's like your forte there.
Yeah.
So, and then you brought that, did you bring that into the ECPW training camp when you're working with guys there?
Not really, because I didn't walk in, I felt like it wasn't my house. So I kind of like just took whoever was leading, whoever was in the ring leading, I took their lead, and whatever we did, because I didn't want to walk in there and be like, oh, I'm Joe Scott, I've got years of experience, and I'm going to own this ring, and you go be on my watch, because I did stuff differently that from Gleason's. Not a lot of stuff I took from Gleason's I contributed to ECPW, because it was just a little bit different, and it wasn't my house, so I felt like I couldn't contribute there, you know, so to say.
I think you should have just walked in and been like, this is how you chain wrestle.
Let's talk about like your tag team partner Kyle Angus had a rash of injuries.
Yes.
I mean, his knee, a lot of things. Have you ever had any serious injuries?
I've had 2 fractured ankles from wrestling. One was when I was younger and stupid, 2001. I was wrestling with a friend in the grass cage, backyard wrestling, and I took up and we were just messing
You weren't
around.
properly trained.
No, I wasn't properly trained. No, definitely not. Not in 2001.
You have the footage of that?
I do have footage. So I fractured my ankle messing around with a friend because I was trying to take a Samoan drop, but I overshot him because I had too much momentum. So it came more of a back body toss. And as I was coming down, I panicked and I just boom right on my leg. And that was the senior year of high school. And then the second time was I was training for our upcoming match with somebody. We haven't wrestled in a ring, and it's always something stupid and simple that people get injured on. Since he was a big guy, I told him block the hip toss, give me a clothesline, and as he gave me the clothesline, he goes to sweep my leg, and like a STO takedown, and he's a huge guy. He's like 200 to 300 pounds. And just my ankle just rolls. Oh. And this wasn't even at Johnny's. This was over at FSW, Joel Maximo. I don't know if you heard of him.
Right.
It's Fight in Spirit Wrestling.
Spirit.
So I wind up rolling on my ankle, and I was out for about like 2 months after that. So that put me on the back burner. Those are the 2 worst injuries, but everything else was just nagging injuries. Blew out both my knees 2 different occasions. One I remember was at Johnny Rods. The blue done the power bomb that I do.
Yes.
I was doing it to one of the newer guys, but he was well off in the ring. He bumped pretty well, so I was doing it to him. And as he did his bump, his elbows, one came right into my knee, so that blew out my knee. And shoulder problems. It could be worse. You know, I fight through the pain.
Is that 2 months? You said that 2 months that one put you out.
Yeah.
Is that the longest you've been put out, or the longest?
I mean, injury-wise, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But I had some off-period time. I took some time off between 2011 2013 because it was everybody you speak to takes some time off. I just needed some time off to be like, is this really for me? Because it's a grueling business, and I tried out for FCW. I didn't get the feedback I wanted. Instead of taking the criticism and let it help me, I let it hinder me. So I kind of took it to heart, and I was like, kind of got down on wrestling, and that's where the acting picked up for me. So I had a different outlet to go to, And I was like, oh, I could have fun here and not risk my body so much. So let's try this out, you know? So stuff was falling into the acting. I was getting more shows. I was getting the Renaissance Fair. So that was picking up. And then I was like, oh, I would still do the wrestling because I still liked it. And I still wanted to do it, but it wasn't as frequent as I used to do it. Like I was going hard from pretty much 2007 to 2011, pretty much. And then from there, it kind of was like, I'll go once a week or once a month, whenever I feel like it. So it kind of hindered that a little bit.
Is there a road story you could share with us? Something that, whether it was with Orlock and the truck, I know it's awfully quiet with you and Tev. But is there anything you could share, like maybe a funny moment or something that sticks out in your mind? Maybe it wasn't so funny, maybe a scary moment, something that's happened that you remember.
I mean, I did like a 4-day loop just recently with Robbie E and Damian Adams and his crew with Team Adams and stuff like that. So it was Vermont, Whitehall, New York with World of Hurt, and then to Vermont, and then Rhode Island. I did the 4th day, but that Vermont where we stood was just in the middle of nowhere, and we're gonna die here. It was like in the middle of nowhere. Like even to get to the place on the GPS, it would send you down this road, but then you had to go off this little thing. But oh my God, it was crazy. And also another one was after I was doing ring crew. And it was after one of those kids like summer camps thing. I had to drive the truck by myself, and it was just so dark, and couldn't see where I was going. I would like wind up on the side of the road one time. It was like I was almost cried. I was like, where the hell am I at? I didn't have cell phone service or whatsoever. I was like, oh my God, this is like the worst. Man, thank God for like cell phones.
Now you just did that loop in Vermont. What did you do in Vermont besides wrestle? Was there any attraction?
On Friday night before World of Hurt, we actually went to
Was it a bar or
no, Lake George. There we go.
Okay.
We went to Lake George, and it was my
okay.
first time
George.
to Lake George, and they had like some some bike show going on over there. So that was like the sightseeing that we did was Lake George, and it was really nice, and my girlfriend was pretty jealous. It's like, oh, you're at Lake George, but she had her own bachelorette thing going on. She had a bachelorette party.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, talk about your wrestling career and where you'd like to see Joe Scott 1 year from now, 2 years from now.
1 or 2 years from now? Well, I'd love to aspire to be in ROH or maybe Impact Wrestling. I could see ROH happening more over than Impact because of connections and stuff like that.
It's funny you didn't say WWE like most people would normally say.
Yeah.
I mean, people say it's ultimate goal, but you seem like you would be content wrestling anywhere as long as you are wrestling.
Pretty much, yeah. And I feel like almost WWE's right out of my grasp because I am 35, so I'm getting older, and I'm trying to think logically about it. Would they want to invest in somebody that's 35? You know, you could probably get maybe a good 5 years out of me, and that's...
Hey, that's even 5 years better than some people. I mean, there's other people in WWE that have had opportunities and they had no business being there, but that's a different... for me, I'm not a wrestler to say, but I mean, comparing to you're still relatively young. You're looking at a guy like AJ Styles.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been in the business 12 years before he went to WWE. Now he's over 40.
Yeah.
So I mean, don't sell yourself short.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bobby Roode is up there too.
Yeah.
Age-wise. So it's not too far out of there, but I like the humbleness of not shooting
Absolutely.
so far for the stars.
You don't feel like you're deserving of it, but in a way, you work so hard.
I mean, I do want to try out. I would love to, my goal, I do want to find myself at the Performance Center just so I can prove myself again.
Right.
So I definitely aspire to be somewhere like that, but I'm kind of at the point where I let the cards fall where they may because I kind of got burnt by that bridge before. So kind of like part of me.
In what way?
Like I told you guys, I tried out for FCW and they didn't really, I was like maybe 4 or 5 years into it. Had no business going down there for Florida Championship wrestling, but
before they were NXT.
Before they were,
FCW.
before they were NXT, and so I went with my Scottish gimmick because I sent the picture, so I thought they was interested in that.
In a character.
Yeah, a character and stuff like that. And I'm like, but it's already been done in WWE before, and it's been done on the top level as Roddy Piper. So I should have never went there with that kilt and that character, which has just been Joe Scott, you know. So, and then my criticism was like, oh, my psychology was a little bit off, and I didn't have a lot of things they were looking for.
What did they say about your in-ring work?
Oh, they enjoyed the in-ring work. Even Ricky Steamboat, he was like, you sell really good. You tell a really good physical story, but like, it's more of the psychology was a little bit off, and my body
connecting with the fans with
yeah,
the verbal.
Yeah, and also my body wasn't as it is right now. I've been improving on my body, and back then my body was a little bit decent, but I'm getting more muscular now. I'm working out and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. Look at that.
That's pretty solid.
So I mean, I
Show those guns to our live audience.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
pretty. That's a lot more than I got.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna flex. I'll walk you to your car after this.
So
is
There you
over.
go.
So speaking about the Scottish gimmick, now you have the Scottish gimmick, but what is your heritage?
Spanish, from Spain, Italian, Norwegian, and French.
Nice.
I'm sure there's Scotland.
So this is
I'm sure it's
this
in
is
there somewhere. Yeah.
This is a busy World Cup for you.
Yeah, it's busy World Cup. Drinking every night. Dust boots.
Oh, so you are part Scottish. There you go.
If you count drinking beer, yeah.
Okay,
Been Scottish for a long time.
You think your acting, all those times you took, all your stage time acting, is helping you a little bit in the ring? Because you're telling a story, kind of acting as well, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I don't get as fearful so much embracing the ring as some people do. They get the butterflies and stuff like that. For me, it's
Just another stage.
just another stage to perform and hone my craft.
When you're wrestling, Joe, do you feel the crowd? Do you feed off their adrenaline?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Like once I start hearing them rumble, I'm like, oh, I got them. I feel it. I feel the thunder,
There you go.
so to say.
Feel the thunder.
So they definitely heart me up.
Absolutely.
I'm surprised you guys didn't talk about the harp at all.
Oh,
The
we
what?
can-
The harp?
Oh yeah. All right. So let's talk a little bit about the harp.
well, let's
That's
talk
your
about
prop.
it.
Yeah,
Right? You come out with
pretty
the
much,
harp.
yeah.
You do your little.
The harp up gimmick.
Yeah. You do that in the ring too, right before. Usually, when I seen you do it in the ring, you have someone in the corner, or what do you do? And you
Yeah,
kind of
do a little strum
little
with the harp,
strum, and
yeah,
then-
and then I do the little fist.
Yeah. Yeah. So where
Want to practice
the
that
harp
on
come
O'Neal
from?
right now? You want to practice it on?
Nah, he's good. He's good.
Where did the harp come from? I mean, it's right there.
Yeah. That came from my tag team of the Celtic Connection. We wanted to get some new tights, and I thought like Guinness, since we were kind of like a drinking tag team, and their logo was a harp. So I didn't want to. I thought their logo was trademarked, so I picked the open harp, which you see over there, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Let's put it. At that time, I was wearing biker trunks, biker shorts, whatever you want to call them, and so we started doing that, and I went to 2 ROH tryout seminar things, and it just caught on, and I was like, oh, I got something going on over here. So I kind of just took what they gave me and tried to expand from that, and it just became my thing. So
I think it's cool. It's a cool prop. I mean, you see tons of different kinds of gimmicks and props in professional wrestling. And I don't think I've ever seen someone come out with a harp. So.
and so like equivalent of a honky tonk man coming out with a guitar or
Yeah.
Jeff Jarrett, you know.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite wrestling memories or matches that does not include yourself? Something that you watched and wow, that was pretty damn good.
Of course, you got to go with WrestleMania 3 with Steamboat and Savage. Definitely, I think it was WrestleMania 7 or 8 with Hogan Warrior.
That was 6.
6,
Yeah,
there we go.
WrestleMania, huh?
I was off with that. But yeah, that was a huge conflict of my inner child because I loved both. I loved Hogan, I loved Warrior, and I was heartbroken either way, but Warrior won and he got both titles, and that was like one of the first times I think somebody won both of the titles, so that was definitely like
And it was unique because there was 2 baby faces.
Exactly,
It
and-
made the fans choose in essence.
yeah. And let's see, I think those 2 really stand out.
What is the biggest misconception of Joe Scott?
A lot of people, I get a lot that like I'm mean. 'Cause
You?
sometimes like
Joe
yeah,
Scott?
I know. Sometimes
We've known you for almost 2 years now. I've never.
You
That's
never
the
get-
first time I ever heard somebody say Joe Scott and me in the same sentence, and
Like-
you were actually the one to say it about yourself.
I'm hard to approach sometimes because sometimes I get that poker face on and I could come across like not approachable. You don't see that?
Wow, no, I don't.
I used to
I'm
get that a
shocked
lot.
by it.
Maybe I opened up a little bit more over the past couple of years, but
Maybe if you run with that heel gimmick, you can,
Yeah.
capitalize on that.
And here's the thing: when we go out to dinner, like after the show, like we see different person. Like you're joking. I think you're more comfortable with when it's not like in a social setting with people you know. So
Yeah.
Would you say that?
yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah, because we've gone out to eat at diners and stuff. We hang out. We hang out with the guys.
Yeah.
State line, right?
State line, yeah.
They got good pancakes there.
They got good stuff. Yeah, they got some good food there. But
Now, Rob, one of our other videographers, that guy loves to eat. You've seen Rob.
Rob
on
Dante,
TV.
you seen
no.
him take down there.
That guy
No, I
could
have
scarf
not.
down some food like you wouldn't believe.
Because I got there late that one time.
Yeah,
that
we
we
came
went,
late,
yeah.
right,
And
we-
I scarfed down my food and left.
Yeah, you were all
Yeah,
business.
because you had to be at work
yeah, worked the next day.
Yeah.
picking up shit.
Oh no, that was the second job.
Oh, that was the other job.
Yeah, two
What is?
jobs.
What's the other job?
Gap, retail.
Oh, okay.
Nothing exciting. Nothing.
So you're helping people pick out clothes and getting the keys to the fitting room, and by the morning you're picking up shit.
Yep.
And then you're also wrestling
Sometimes I
at
do
night.
a double shot.
You have the most diverse portfolio of work, and you're doing show tunes. This is the thing. That's why I'm so happy we did this interview, because a lot of things that nobody knew about you now they know. Now they know.
Now they
There you
know.
go. Now you know.
Joe, thank you for joining
Thank
us.
you
We
for
do
your time.
appreciate your time, man. Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, thank you.
Joe Scott, catch him at ECPW, D2W, and all over the world. Follow him on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We'll see you next time, folks.